playing a bit of a tweener because he hadn't fully turned heel yet, but like he's kind of like not like your babyface, and he's still supposed to be Y2J, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, it's a character that's kind of stuck in the middle of a transition. Because how soon after this do we get him throwing Michaels through the Geratron 9000?
I believe that'd be next month because it's after the Batista match.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. And then that's when the feud starts that we love so much. Jericho punching Shawn's wife, the brutal match they have where Shawn just beats the crap out of him.
Yeah, and Unforgiven.
Some great matches in that feud, and just an overall greatly booked feud.
Yeah, because I know I don't want to go ahead of it yet because like we got many months to go. But I remember No Mercy. I remember that being like a really good pay-per-view, so I remember I wanted to put that in there. But heck, I'd say we probably should find a way to get that Unforgiven in there too, where they do that unsanctioned match, just primarily for that. And yeah, I think that'd be a good show to talk about down the road as well. So, we're going to do a lot of late shows, just know that.
Yep, great match. What do you give this star-wise?
I was going to point that out in a second. I just wanted to note a couple other things in this match.
That's fine.
Shawn would also sell his ribs being hurt. And I remember at one point he'd hit the flying elbow and he'd immediately grab them in pain. Then Shawn would look to hit the sweet chin music and Jericho would collapse a couple times. And he'd tune up the band one more time. And as he went to hit it, he'd walk into a code breaker from Jericho who was playing possum the whole time, which I think is really good storytelling because Shawn for weeks had been faking an injury, so Jericho would look to try to beat him in his own game.
Yep.
So then in the end, Jericho would look to hit the lion salt, but Shawn would get his knees up, but Jericho would have the scouted and look to apply the walls of Jericho. But Shawn would counter into a roll-up and get the pin on Jericho for the 1-2-3. Absolutely great match. Would expect nothing less from two of the best to ever do it. And this is just the beginning of a very long, great rivalry. And this hasn't even gotten its heat yet. So
no. And star-wise, I think I gave it 4 1/4.
You went 4 1/4. I went with 4. Shawn Michaels will be your winner. 15 minutes and 56 seconds.
Great match.
So wasn't too long, wasn't too short. Just loved it. Great match. Match of the night. I'm just going to put that out there right now. Sure. We still got other things to talk about, but this match tonight. So then following the match, Shawn was getting ready to exit the ring, but Jericho would stick his hand out in a sign of sportsmanship. Shawn would get back in the ring and be reluctant about it at first, but would ultimately shake his hand. And, of course, because of what happened at WrestleMania 19 in 2003, you can't really blame him for being hesitant about it, I guess. But the two would embrace in the middle of the ring, and then after the great match, and then well, if they'd shake hands here, but I meant to say WrestleMania 19, they would embrace after the match. They'd hug one other, then Jericho would nail him in the nuts with his knee.
Great moment.
Then they'd show William Regal once again up in the skybox watching the show. Then we'd have an interview with Todd Grisham and the women's champion Mickie James, who would say that she's happy because Shawn Michaels had just won, and also that John Cena had won earlier. Todd would then ask Mickie about her date with Cena. Then she would say it went good, but before she could get into more detail, the interview would be interrupted by JBL. Mickie would leave, and then JBL would ask Todd to ask him a question about John Cena. Grisham would then ask him how would he plan to get some kind of revenge against John Cena, and JBL would pretty much say that he didn't know what he was talking about because he beat Cena, and that Cena's the one in the trainer's room recovering from the match earlier, and he's the one standing. And then he threatened Todd, I guess.
Yeah, that's stupid.
I don't get that because it's just like you lost the match. I mean, but I don't get the idea of how they're selling it where it did more damage to him, I guess, in the end. Because it's like it's one thing if you beat a guy like off a small package or something like or whatever, and that's just the abrupt finish or whatever. But he beat him off of his move, and then they just walked. I don't get it.
Yeah, neither do I. It's stupid. Let's just move on from that.
But then next, though, we would have we see Mickie James again, and here we'd have the WWE Women's Championship on the line and be in a triple threat match. It'd be Mickie James versus Beth Phoenix versus Melina. When I was going through the card, of the show before watching this back, seeing this match on paper between these three, honestly, true pioneers in women's wrestling, made me actually excited for it in a way. because I enjoy all three talents, Mickie James, Melina, and Beth Phoenix. Beth Phoenix is in the WWE Hall of Fame, but Melina and Mickie one day also deserve to be in there as well.
Yeah, I think Mickie will definitely get in. I don't know if Melina will.
Yeah, because although she did appear at that Raw show last year, so maybe that now they're acknowledging her more than having her appear. Like maybe someday. Because I mean they're putting like recent people in there now, so it's someday. Yeah. There's a lot of people to put in the Hall of Fame after. I mean, not everyone gets in there, but what I mean to say is like there's like a long ways like from like here on out like for years down the road, so you never know. I for one actually kind of like this match in a way. I actually wish they would have given them more time, but I mean, you can't really expect that at this time.
No, you can't. I mean, it's, it sucks. I wish they get more time, but that's the story of the whole women's division at this point.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, this was a pretty basic threat. I do like the way Beth Phoenix is booked. It is a monster at this point, though.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, when she did that double backbreaker when she had up Melina and Mickie, I mean, that was a very impressive feat of strength.
It was a very cool spot for her to have that moment. And then obviously you get the Mickie James win at the end to retain. It sucks because women just weren't getting the same opportunities they get now at this point. And these are three women that honestly deserved it because all three of these women are very good talents.
Oh yeah, they're great. And I think but I kind of like this though at the same time only because I think it's good to they didn't get a lot of time, so they did the most with it, but it's nice having a match, like, at least, like, for a rewind, like, when we go back to this time period, when women's wrestling wasn't as prominent. It's nice being able to see something like this where it's, like, not, like, terrible or even bad. Like, it's actually, like, pretty decent. So I do like that. Because I feel like every time we do this, rewinds, a lot of the time it's like we just have like these like diva matches, and like they're just not the greatest. So like we just give them the poor ratings, and I don't like doing it. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's that's just how it was. But I mean, it's just like it's just I don't know. I don't want to feel like I'm just hating on it immediately. But they didn't give them a lot of time and didn't put a lot into them.
No, they didn't care about him, and it sucks. But that's the way it was.
Yeah, so I say that every time, so like I don't want to beat that to death, but it's just. But then for the finish, Mickie would hit the DDT and then pin Melina to retain the women's title. They get 4 minutes and 52 seconds, not a lot of time. I went with 2 3/4. I thought had they gotten more time, it actually could have been like a pretty good match.
What did I go with here?
I think you went with like 2.
Yeah. Like I said, it could have been good. Just wasn't given enough time. I agree with you. I just don't think it was as good as you do.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
It's fine.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Following the match, Batista backstage would confront Shawn Michaels in the locker room and tell him that he promised him that if he was faking his injury, he was going to hurt him. But Batista would tell him that he's going to make him wait. And of course, not to jump the gun here. I mean, I already said early in the program, but I mean, in the match with Jericho's over with now. But yeah, in 2 weeks' time, they're going to have another match, and it's going to be at One Night Stand 2008, and they're going to face off in a stretcher match, which I recall being. Well, we'll obviously have to go back and watch it this upcoming week sometime, and then have the show for Sunday afternoon. But I recall that actually being like a good match, also because I pointed out I pointed out that the Backlash match was good, but I point out that I guess I'm trying to make something out of this I remember that being good as well, only because it's a stretcher match, not one of my favorite gimmick matches.
Yeah, I don't really like the stretcher match gimmick either, but we don't really have to go into that because that's not on the show. But
yeah, that's next week.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into that next week. I don't want to go into it because we're going to watch it next week, and I don't want to.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to talk about the match yet, but if I remember correctly, it was good. But we'll be the judges of that, I guess, when we go back and watch it.
Yeah.
But then before we'd have the World Heavyweight title match, the result of the poll would be revealed. 85% would vote for The Undertaker to win, with only 15% of the vote going to Edge. But, I mean, it is Undertaker in a popularity contest, after all.
Yeah. You could have put Undertaker up against Jesus Christ, and he'd probably win the poll. With WWE fans.
You may not be. You're probably. Actually. I'm not gonna say you're probably not wrong. I'd say you're probably right about that.
But next would be the world title match, correct?
Yes. This would be the fifth match tonight. It'd be for the World Heavyweight Championship. The vacant World Heavyweight Championship would be between Undertaker and Edge. So this would now be the third pay-per-view matchup between the two, the first being at WrestleMania, and then the second being at Backlash, as previously noted. Each match being for the World Heavyweight title.
I need to say this, and I didn't remember this till I watched this. You remember as a kid who my two favorites were? My two favorite wrestlers by far.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Jeff Hardy and Undertaker.
Yep. I couldn't stand Edge and Vicky Guerrero.
I
hated them.
I was the complete opposite.
I hated them.
I'm like in that weird spot, I guess, because a lot of the younger fans I guess now the question would be how will Undertaker defeat Edge this time.
Yeah.
I do love this feud. With that being said, as you said, with all the epic encounters they had, this to me was probably my least favorite, but that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't good. I mean, in the match itself, leading up to the finish, I mean, there was some good in-ring psychology, and the crowd was definitely into it.
The problem is the finish wasn't great.
Yes. I remember one move I saw in this, actually, that I don't ever remember seeing Undertaker do, is he hit Edge with his own version of a buckle bomb.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, because it looked like he was just going for a last ride, but he was a little too close to the ring post or to the corner. So I was like, wait a minute. And then he buckled on. I'm like, oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't remember that either. But overall, I'd say they did okay in the ring. I just think the finish wasn't great because he had the count-out finish.
Yeah, no, it was a good match.
Before Vicky comes out, you're thinking to yourself, what?
Yeah.
Did Undertaker just win the belt by count-out, and then Vicky comes out, and this is the part I wanted to talk about. Vicky couldn't even get a word out. That's how much the crowd hated her.
Uh-huh.
She couldn't even get a word out. That's how pissed people were.
So, toward the end, both guys would go to the outside of the ring, and Undertaker would clothesline Edge over the barricade, sending him and Edge into the crowd. The referee was counting the 10, and then Edge would try to beat the count, but Taker would throw him into the barrier, get back in the ring, and beat the count of 10. So Undertaker would win the match by countout. So he'd win the match, but following the match, Vicky Guerrero would come out to a thunderous crowd of boos. She'd have a hard time getting words in, as you said, but she would state that it's common knowledge that a world championship cannot be won by a countout. Therefore, Undertaker was not the world heavyweight champion, and that title was still vacant. Undertaker, upset and all, would grab Edge and hit him with the tombstone pile driver. Then Vicky would call the Undertaker a son of a bitch.
And then Hawkins and Ryder would go down to the ring and drag Edge out of it and carry him back up the ramp.
Yeah, it's an unpopular finish, but I guess this was just done simply to continue the feud.
Yeah, and I understand that. It was okay. Like you said, I expect more when it's Taker and Edge.
Yeah, I agree. And, of course, they're going to end up having a match as well at the next show we plan on covering, which is One Night Stand 2008, as we've said a few times on here. And that's going to be in a TLC match. So yeah, Undertaker would win the match by countout, 16 minutes, 15 seconds, 3 1/4 from you and 3 1/2 from me.
Yeah.
So next we'd have a Randy Orton promo who was challenging Triple H in the main event for the WWE title. He'd say that Triple H would call his first world title reign luck, but Orton would call Triple H winning the title from him luck, with it being in a fatal four-way match on his third try. He would say that tonight is truly Judgment Day because Triple H always talks about being the best, but that tonight he's going to be the one escaping the cage and regaining the title, restarting the age of Orton, and yeah.
Yeah, all of that. And then the world title match was supposed to happen, but out walked Montel Vontavious Porter.
Mm-hmm.
And he would cut a promo basically saying that it's ridiculous that MVP's not on the card.
Mm-hmm.
And he said if there's anyone out there that wants to challenge me, come out here now. And then first nobody would come out, and he said, that's right, everyone's a coward. Matt Hardy would then come out, and he's in the middle of their feud, and he's the U.S. champ. So he says, get your butt and my title down to this ring. But Matt says, no, there's someone else here who wants to beat you. and then Matt's brother Jeff comes out, and they have a pretty lackluster match.
Yeah, I mean, this was just Jeff Hardy's return match or whatever, but